Hello again, my friend. It's good to see you. Please enter my study, sit a while, and listen to the tale of Borley Rectory. This account of the Borley hauntings, derived from the extensive archives of acclaimed author and seasoned ghost hunter Peter Underwood, unveils a saga that has enthralled audiences for decades. With an unmatched reputation in the field, Underwood's intimate connection with this mystifying case spans more than 60 years. Nestled within the heart of England, the haunting halls of Borley Rectory have achieved legendary status as the country's most renowned abode of supernatural phenomena. For generations of intrepid ghost hunters, this enigmatic location has held an unparalleled allure. Its notoriety stems from a contentious series of articles that catapulted it into the public consciousness over 8 decades ago, forever cementing its status as a quintessential haunted house. Within these ghostly walls, a tapestry of spectral apparitions and ethereal figures unfolds. Amongst them, the Borley nun stands as an iconic spectre, her fame stretching across the breadth of Britain. Violent poltergeist activity, accompanied by enigmatic lights and phantom footfalls, add an extra layer of intrigue. Witness accounts reveal the haunting presence of a ghostly coach and horses, while tales of buried bones, ghostly melodies, and spectral creatures further embellish the mystique. This amalgamation of uncanny occurrences has transformed Borley Rectory into a veritable Mount Everest of haunted houses, captivating believers and skeptics alike. The allure of this ethereal realm has ensnared the imagination of the public at large, drawing them into its enigmatic spell. Prepare to embark on a journey into the unknown as we delve into the enigmatic tapestry of the Borley haunting. In the vast realm of literature, much ink has been spilled over the enigmatic 30-room red brick house constructed in 1863 by the Reverend Henry D.E. Bull. This sprawling abode was intended to accommodate his extensive brood and became the backdrop for the alleged apparitions that roamed its halls. However, it was the audacious Harry Price, who lived from 1881 to 1948, heralded as the father of modern ghost hunting, who took centre stage in the popular fascination with the paranormal during the interwar years. Price wholeheartedly championed the haunting of Borley, dedicating 2 comprehensive books to the subject: The Most Haunted House in England, 1940, and The End of Borley Rectory, 1946. Shortly after Price's demise, the Society for Psychical Research orchestrated an investigation to re-evaluate his findings at Borley. Their team comprised respected and seasoned researchers, including Eric J. Dingwall and Kathleen M. Goldney. The SPR's motives were sparkled by posthumous allegations made by a journalist from London who accused Price of fabricating supernatural phenomena inside the desolate and gloomy house during the summer of 1929. The resulting document, known as the Borley Report, and published in 1956 as The Haunting of Borley Rectory, was nothing short of meticulous assault on the credibility and integrity of Harry Price. The report has since become a contentious piece, generating debates among skeptics, while simultaneously serving as a touchstone for those who question the authenticity of the events. Among the critical works that have scrutinised the Borley case, one notable examination is Robert Wood's The Widow of Borley, 1992. This sceptical analysis delves into the tumultuous years of the Foyster family's residency at Borley, a period that stands out as particularly controversial within the entire saga. We shall briefly explore this phase in a moment. Additionally, there exists We Fate the Ghosts of Borley Rectory, a book authored by the eccentric Londoner Louis Mayerling, whose real name was George Carter. Mayerling, a serial fantasist, attempted to expose the supposed hauntings, but was later revealed to be perpetrating a hoax. Thus, the tale of the rambling red brick house continues to captivate hearts and minds, steeped in controversy and intrigue, with supporters and skeptics alike finding solace in the infamous Borley report. Several writers have staunchly defended the notion that Borley is a genuine haunted place, and have vehemently rejected the accusations of Harry Price being a fraud. These supporters include Peter Underwood, the former long-standing president of the Ghost Club, who authored The Ghosts of Borley in 1973 and Borley Postscript in 2001. Local Borley resident Edward Babbs also endorsed the haunting in his book Borley Rectory, The Final Analysis from 2003. Additionally, the late Ivan Banks, a paranormal enthusiast, wrote The Enigma of Borley Rectory in 1996. In The Borley Rectory Companion from 2009, a collaboration with Peter Underwood to reassess the case, after examining substantial original material relating to the haunting, they concluded that while Borley was undoubtedly plagued by exaggeration, misrepresentation, and instances of fakery and hoaxing, certain aspects of the reported hauntings could not be easily dismissed by skeptics. These aspects include sightings of phantom figures, the appearance of a mysterious light in the rectory bedroom's windows, footsteps inside the house, and the sensations of coldness. Therefore, Borley Rectory deserves recognition as a genuinely haunted building, at least during certain periods of its existence, before it was destroyed by fire in 1939 and demolished in 1944. It may not be England's most haunted house, but it unquestionably held paranormal occurrences. In the late 19th century, the rectory and its surroundings gained a local reputation for strange and unexplainable events. While an unverified report mentions the sighting of a nun-like apparition in the area during the early 1840s, 20 years before Reverend Henry Bull demolished the old structure and built his new house, the most notable encounters occurred inside the house, in the garden, on the nearby road, and across the expansive fields surrounding the rectory. One memorable incident took place on a summer afternoon in 1900, when the Bull sisters observed a silent and solitary Borley nun in broad daylight. Reverend Henry Bull and his son Harry, who took over the house after his father's death in 1892, claimed to have heard and seen a ghostly coach pulled by 4 horses rumbling down the lane near Borley Church. The Bull family's gardener and part-time groom, Edward Cooper, and his wife, also reported witnessing the spectral coach approaching the rectory from the fields one night, crossing the lawn and disappearing from sight. The Coopers further claimed to have experienced poltergeist phenomena in the rectory cottage, a structure that remains standing to this day. Additionally, they encountered the unsettling figure of a small black man running in circles around their bedroom at night. When the surviving members of the Bull family departed Borley in 1928 after Reverend Harry's passing, few could have anticipated that this peculiar and enduring local haunting would soon become one of the most renowned cases of its kind in the country. In the early days of October 1928, an intriguing event unfolded in the village of Borley. The Reverend Guy Eric Smith, hailing from Calcutta, took up the position of rector and moved into the Borley Rectory with his wife Mabel. Accompanying them was their living maid, Mary Pearson, who hailed from London. Little did they know that their arrival would set the stage for a series of uncanny encounters with the restless ghosts of Borley. During the 9 months the Smiths resided in the old house, they claimed to have regular interaction with the supernatural inhabitants. Mary Pearson recounted sightings of a ghostly nun standing in the garden, and on more than one occasion she witnessed a phantom coach gliding across the lawn. The Reverend Smith, on the other hand, heard footsteps echoing through the upper corridors and the voice of an unseen entity crying out. Furthermore, both he and his wife, on multiple occasions, showcased to villagers and visitors a peculiar light emanating from the first-floor bedroom window. Strangely, the room was shut and unoccupied. Adding to the eerie happenings, Mrs. Smith attested that the ghostly coach arrived at the front door one evening, and the servant bells chimed autonomously at odd hours of the day and night. The Smiths unwittingly became pivotal in bringing the Borley ghost to the attention of the wider public. Their plea for assistance, in the form of a letter to the editor of the Daily Mirror, seeking a paranormal society to investigate and explain these mysterious occurrences, yielded more than they anticipated. Not only did they receive the expertise of Harry Price from the National Laboratory of Psychical Research, along with his secretary Lucy Kay, but they also attracted a journalist hungry for a story. Consequently, hordes of curious onlookers and thrill-seekers descended upon the quaint hamlet, day and night trespassing upon the grounds in their desperate quest to catch a glimpse of the ghostly nun. In July 1929, the Reverend Smith and his wife decided to abandon the rectory, fleeing to the nearby village of Long Melford. There they assumed the responsibility of another parish, but their departure from Borley did not mark the end of the supernatural saga. In October of the following year, 52-year-old Lionel Algernon Foister, a cousin of the Bulls, took over as the new rector of Borley. Little did he know that his arrival alongside his young wife Marianne and their adopted daughter Adelaide would usher in one of the most extraordinary and contentious periods in the entire history of the haunting of Borley. The Foisters resided in Borley for a remarkable 5 years, during which an unsettling and intense surge of supernatural occurrences seemed to revolve around them. Reverend Foister diligently chronicled the daily happenings of the Borley ghosts, whom he referred to as goblins, for nearly a year and a half, capturing their malevolent activities within the dimly lit chambers and corridors of Borley Rectory. His diary, which he later reworked into a potential but ultimately unpublished novel titled 15 Months in a Haunted House, serves as a chilling record of disturbing psychic phenomena. Within its pages lie a catalogue of spine-tingling events, doors slamming shut with a resounding force, bells clamouring out of the blue, stones being hurled through the air, and mysterious odours wafting through the rooms. Eerily disembodied footsteps echo through the house, accompanied by ghostly voices that seem to emerge from thin air. Wine bottles are viciously flung and shattered, while stones and chunks of masonry ominously cascade down the winding staircases. Unpredictable fires spontaneously erupt throughout the dwelling, as if fueled by some otherworldly force. The walls of the house bear pathetic messages, desperate pleas for assistance scrawled by unseen hands, beckoning the rector's wife for help. Not only do ordinary household objects mysteriously disappear and vanish without explanation, but Marianne Foister herself claims to have witnessed apparitions. She described encountering the spectral form of Reverend Harry Bull, a figure from the beyond, as well as a sinister entity resembling a nightmarish bat with outstretched wings, which dealt her a brutal blow. The Foisters' prolonged stay in the lonely Essex hamlet became a spellbinding tale of otherworldly chaos and the macabre. Their experiences, recorded in Reverend Foister's journal, offer a chilling glimpse into a realm where the boundary between the living and the supernatural is terrifyingly blurred. In the early months of 1932, a local spiritualist group from nearby Marks Tay gathered at the rectory. This event, known as a rescue circle, seemed to have a calming effect on the violent and disruptive occurrences that had plagued the house for the past 15 months. As time went on, the Foister family eventually left Borley in 1935. Little did they know that their stay would become a cornerstone for the sensational stories surrounding the infamous, most haunted house in England. Sadly, the truth of what truly transpired inside Borley Rectory during that time will forever remain a mystery. The Foisters' domestic situation throughout the 1930s, particularly during Lionel Foister's tenure as a rector of Borley, was a peculiar and unsettling blend of the bizarre and the distressing. Their unusual circumstances played a significant role in the chaotic and supposedly supernatural bedlam that allegedly unfolded within the rectory. Marianne, Lionel's wife, who was 20 years younger than him, engaged in an affair with a florist from London who went by the name François Darley, real name Frank Peerless. Darley appeared to be a mysterious figure who, according to contemporary accounts, held sway over the Foister household. Surprisingly, Lionel Foister, afflicted with arthritis and often confined to his bed for extended periods, appeared to be aware of and even approved of his wife's affair. Some suggest that he may even have been a voyeur, observing their intimate encounters. The reported attacks by ghostly apparitions can reasonably be attributed to Marianne's tumultuous relationship with Darley, which was known to have been violent at times. It has been proposed that to alleviate the monotony of living in a secluded countryside location, the bored and frustrated Marianne Foyster resorted to playing ghostly games with her increasingly frail and impressionable husband, who eagerly participated. Moreover, it later came to light that Marianne entered into a bigamous marriage during their final year at Borley. Astonishingly, the Reverend Foyster supported and facilitated this deception by posing as the bride's father. These revelations lend some credence to the perspective of Tony Bruffel, a ghost hunter from Luton, who believed that the haunting at the rectory was a result of a succession of very strange occupants that fate had brought together. The Foysters' time at Borley Rectory was undoubtedly marked by an assortment of peculiarities, both within their personal lives and the alleged supernatural phenomena that occurred. While we may never know the absolute truth behind the events that unfolded, their story continues to captivate and fuel the enduring legend of the enigmatic and haunted Borley Rectory. After the Foysters left, the rectory, a desolate and eerie place, stood abandoned and neglected. The next occupant, Alfred Henning, a clergyman hailing from Forest Hill in London, was well aware of the notorious haunted reputation surrounding the building. Instead of residing in the rectory, Henning chose to live in Liston, a nearby village that had merged with Borley's parish. As a result, Henry Bull's once magnificent residence quickly succumbed to decay. In May 1937, Harry Price made a return to Borley after being away for several years. He embarked on a daring experiment, renting the rectory for a year and setting up a rotating team of observers to monitor the premises and its surroundings for any sign of paranormal activity. This groundbreaking endeavour, although meeting with some success, fell short of its full potential. Price enlisted a group of investigators, controversially recruited from the general public through an advertisement in the Times, rather than relying on specialised organisations like the Society for Psychical Research. These individuals reported peculiar occurrences such as doors slamming shut, unexplained footsteps, eerie noises, and objects mysteriously moving. However, the astonishing poltergeist phenomena that had defined the Foysters' time at the rectory seemed to have departed along with them. Despite its partial success, Price's audacious approach breathed new life into the study of the supernatural, captivating the public's imagination with Borley Rectory's ghostly tales and the ongoing search for paranormal truths. As Harry Price diligently worked on analysing numerous reports from observers and gathering the Borley papers, little did he know that the church authorities were busy selling off sections of the old rectory grounds for development. In October 1938, the entire Borley Rectory, along with the rectory cottage and a small parcel of land, was purchased for £500 by William Gregson, a retired captain of engineers from the Lake District. Gregson, known for his involvement with Oswald Mosley's British Union of Fascists, saw the rectory as an opportunity to capitalise on its eerie reputation. He wasted no time in corresponding with Harry Price, sharing his supposedly unusual experiences and suggesting ways to market the paranormal, such as offering coach tours to the haunted site and guided tours of the ghost-infested rooms. However, Gregson's impatience grew as Price painstakingly compiled his comprehensive Borley dossier. Then, on the night of February the 27th, 1939, disaster struck. Borley Rectory was engulfed in flames, starting in the hallway and rapidly consuming the entire building. Captain Gregson promptly blamed the Borley ghosts, who, it seemed, were fulfilling a séance prophecy that Price's team had obtained through a planchette 11 months earlier. However, Gregson's insurers had a different perspective. They accused him of intentionally setting fire to the house to claim a substantial amount of money through his insurance policy. Eventually, they settled the claim for a much smaller sum, despite Captain Gregson's protests. Ironically, if Gregson had exercised patience for just over a year, he could have reaped the financial benefits from the publication of Price's book, The Most Haunted House in England. Despite paper shortages and the grim conditions of wartime, the book captivated readers during the harsh winter of 1940. The Borley haunting became a significant part of Harry Price's life in the years that followed. In the summer of 1943, prompted by suggestions from Canon W.J. Fithian Adams, Price embarked on an excavation project in the dilapidated cellars of the rectory. His aim was to find evidence of human remains that could support the theory presented by the communicating entities during seances conducted at Borley. According to these entities, the ghostly nun that haunted the place was a French novice named Marie Lair, who had been strangled and buried on the site by a member of the wealthy Waldegrave family during the 15th century. Despite Price's overall scepticism towards seances and information obtained through methods like planchette, an intriguing turn of events occurred on August 17, 1943. Portions of a female skull were discovered during the excavation. These findings were carefully studied, documented through photographs, and eventually laid to rest with a Christian burial in a nearby Liston churchyard in 1945. This discovery added another layer of intrigue to the Borley haunting and left Price with much to contemplate in the remaining years of his life. If the bones discovered by Price and his team amidst the ruins of the rectory truly belonged to Marie Lair, then their respectful reburial in consecrated ground did little to soothe her troubled spirit. A ghostly figure resembling a nun has continued to appear at Borley on numerous occasions, especially during the 1950s and early 1960s. There is even a photograph allegedly taken by Eddie Brazil in 1972, which may capture this apparition during a visit to Borley Church. The church itself has become a focal point for paranormal activity and subsequent investigations since the rectory was lost to physical research. Even today, interest in the case remains strong, with ghost hunters gathering in the area on the anniversary of the Bull sisters' encounter with the phantom nun on the rectory lawn. Furthermore, starting in 2010, local police have been forced to seal off the village at Halloween to prevent disturbances reminiscent of the chaos that engulfed Reverend Guy Smith and his wife when they unknowingly brought the haunting to public attention 8 decades earlier. Given the numerous reports and accounts of paranormal phenomena spanning over a century associated with the Borley case, it begs the question of which experiences are worth considering in the examination of Britain's most extreme haunting. Amongst all the encounters connected to Borley Rectory, the most captivating and unsettling may be those of Montague L. Ellman, a journalist from London. In the mid-1940s, L. Ellman visited the site of the infamous Most Haunted House in England. After Harry Price's initial publicity of the haunting in his first Borley book, the story spread worldwide through syndicated newspaper articles. L. Ellman, serving as a soldier in North Africa at the time, first learned of the rectory ghosts through these reports. Upon his return to civilian life, he decided to investigate the case personally in the hopes of selling a story to one of the London newspapers. In March 1946, L. Ellman finally arrived at Borley, only to find the rectory completely demolished and the grounds abandoned and overgrown. Only scattered bricks and rubble remained as a faint outline of Henry Bull's once grand residence. However, the open sky revealed the remnants of the cellars, partially filled with debris and earth. After spending some time exploring the site and interviewing a couple of local villagers, L. Ellman departed for London. As a memento, he took with him a charred timber fragment, possibly from the collapsed roof or a section of one of the floors. Little did he know that for the next 9 years, while he possessed this innocent yet seemingly supernatural piece of wood, strange and uncanny occurrences connected to the infamous Borley haunting would unfold. Upon his return to London, L. Ellman found himself embroiled in a peculiar incident. He had been staying at his sister's house, and as he arrived late in the evening, he placed a charred piece of timber on the mantelpiece in his bedroom. Feeling hungry, he headed downstairs for a makeshift supper all by himself. Ellerman had not informed a soul about his visit to Borley earlier that day. The lateness of the hour meant that he would have to wait until breakfast time the next morning to discuss his trip with his sister. However, before he could settle in, a sudden commotion erupted from upstairs. Ellerman looked up to find his sister standing in the open doorway, clearly distressed. She recounted a disturbing encounter she had experienced while crossing the first floor landing. Glancing through Ellerman's bedroom door, she was taken aback to see the unmistakable silhouette of a tall black figure, an eerie nun standing silently in the middle of the room. Curiosity piqued, the pair hurried upstairs to investigate, only to discover an empty bedroom. Deciding it was best to keep the details of his recent outing under wraps until the next day, Ellerman managed to convince his sister that her fears had gotten the better of her, causing her to jump at mere shadows, an uncharacteristic reaction from her. Little did they know that this was just the beginning of a series of inexplicable events that awaited them. Over the next few nights, something peculiar happened to Ellerman and the other members of the household. It all began when he woke from a dream one night right after his sister's encounter with the mysterious nun. Trying to calm his nerves, he reached for a cigarette to light up, when suddenly he heard a piercing scream. It was undoubtedly human, and it echoed through the house. Alarmed, Ellerman thought that his sister and her husband were being attacked by a burglar. Without wasting a moment, he leapt out of bed and rushed to their bedroom. To his utter astonishment, he found the couple peacefully asleep in their bed. The following day, Michael Ellerman, the journalist's brother, arrived from the Midlands on a business trip to London. He stayed over at the house and was given the spare bed in the same bedroom. As night fell and the household retired, the two brothers lay in their beds, engaged in quiet conversation. Suddenly, the room light switched on by itself, casting an eerie glow. Hours later, around 2:30 in the morning, both Michael and Montague were jolted awake by the sound of ringing. It resembled the chimes of a grand clock striking the hour. Montague, having lived in the house for several weeks, knew for certain that his sister and her husband didn't possess a chiming clock. They searched diligently, but the source of the sound remained elusive, as if it originated from within the very walls of the building. All of these unsettling incidents occurred either in or near the bedroom where a seemingly harmless piece of Borley wood innocently rested on the mantelpiece above the fireplace. However, the following night passed without a whisper, and in the days that followed, the household experienced a respite from any further disturbances. Weeks later, Ellerman bid farewell to London and embarked on a journey with his peculiar Borley trophy. He settled temporarily in a house located 30 miles away in the charming coastal town of Westcliff-on-Sea. Curiously, upon his arrival, the doorbell would ring spontaneously on multiple occasions, despite there being no one at the door. On one occasion, Ellerman's landlord, suspecting mischievous local children were to blame, intentionally left the front door open. To his astonishment, as the bell persistently chimed, he peered through the inner glass vestibule door only to find the porch lobby empty. Adding to the enigma, a visitor claimed to have seen a shadowy figure dressed in dark attire crossing the first floor landing while conversing with the owner in the hallway below. A thorough search of the upstairs area revealed that the visitor and the lady of the house were the sole occupants at the time. Over time, Ellerman began to discern a peculiar pattern related to the mysterious piece of rectory wood. Whenever it was relocated, strange occurrences seemed to unfold in its immediate vicinity. However, after a few days, these phenomena gradually subsided, as if the disturbed force was able to revert to an eerie and inscrutable state of suspended animation. Phenomena associated with the Borley wood during Ellerman's possession of it, or while in the care of his friends and acquaintances, included shuffling footsteps, disembodied voices, sensations of bone-chilling cold, temperature drops, unusual noises, and fleeting glimpses of a motionless figure or a dark, shadowy shape. These apparitions were often observed lingering beside the relic, or silently passing by the door of the room where it was temporarily kept on loan. Eventually, in 1955, 9 years after his initial visit to Borley, and due to his wife Veronica's insistence, Montague Ellman decided to part ways with the charred wood. He made the decision to give it away permanently, and from that moment on, the relic vanished from sight forever. Unsurprisingly, its current whereabouts, assuming it still exists, remain a mystery. In 1963, Ellman captivated listeners with a remarkable radio broadcast. He recounted his personal encounters with the supernatural, specifically focusing on the haunted wood. 11 years later, in April 1974, Ellman presented a copy of the script to Peter Underwood, the long-standing president of the Ghost Club. Along with the script, Ellman wrote a letter in which he boldly claimed that every detail described in the broadcast was undeniably true. Now, let's reflect on this intriguing story and its significance in the present day. Is it merely another sensationalized tale spun by a journalist, exploiting the dramatic aspects of a haunting that had already gained considerable attention by the early 1960s? Or does this account provide evidence of the paranormal's ability to attach itself to seemingly ordinary objects, projecting its presence and manifestations in entirely different locations, sometimes miles away from the original focal point of the supernatural activity? What adds further intrigue and evidential value to this account is the fact that, in various instances, individuals who experienced these apparent phenomena had no prior knowledge of the haunted wood's existence or its ghostly associations. For instance, Ellman's landlord and his wife in Westcliff-on-Sea, as well as a cleaner at his London office where the length of wood was temporarily stored, were completely unaware of its haunting reputation. Montague Ellman adamantly asserted the truthfulness of his story. However, he did acknowledge that there may be coincidences at play, and speculated that people themselves might create ghostly sightings and occurrences based on stories, true or false, that reside in their minds. Interestingly, these created experiences can also be witnessed by others. Such is the captivating mystery and allure of the paranormal, as well as the equally enigmatic legend surrounding the so-called most haunted house in England. And there ends my telling of the tale of Borley Rectory. I hope you found it entertaining, and if you did, please subscribe, like, and maybe leave a comment down below. Thank you for joining me, my friend. It has, as always, been a pleasure to sit with you, and I look forward to speaking with you again very soon.